Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Millicent Nwoka. We begin today in Nigeria, where the 104 Dapchi girls who have reunited with their families have met with President Muhammadu Buhari. The only boy freed by the insurgents is also in attendance. Well, meanwhile, for the one schoolgirl, Lee Sharibu, who is still in Boko Haram captivity, the president has given a firm assurance that she will be freed.
Let me emphasize our administration's commitment to the fight against terrorism and insurgency, and also call on all Nigerians to join in this task. The security services have since been directed to put in place further measures around all schools vulnerable to attacks to ensure the safety of our people, students, and teachers and school workers. I have tasked all the security agencies to work to ensure that we do not witness any reoccurrence of these incidents. Security chiefs have been warned in clear terms that any lapse on their part will be viewed seriously. To the rescued students, we want to assure you, as our daughters, that you will freely live and pursue your dreams in Nigeria of peace and order without fear of violence or molestation. While parents of Dapchi girls rejoice because of the reunion with their children, I want to appeal to the Chibok community never to lose hope or to despair. We are determined, as never before, to bring back our remaining Chibok daughters, and this we must accomplish, and that will be soon by God's grace. May I also warn against those elements who have chosen to make political fortune of our citizens' misfortune. Government will not tolerate any attempt by any person or group to trivialize or politicize security issues for politically motivated ends. Accordingly, security agencies will not hesitate to decisively deal with such unscrupulous characters.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari. The spokesperson of Zambia's President Edgar Lungu has dismissed the plan by the main opposition party to impeach him. He says he is confident that the motion will not be successful and described it as a continuation of the opposition's failed court challenge of the president's election victory. Members of Zambia's United Party for National Development say misconduct and corruption are some of the reasons why they are calling for the impeachment. The motion, which is expected to be debated next week, was submitted to Parliament last night and signed by a third of lawmakers, including 2 former government ministers. The motion would need the backing of 2/3 of the lawmakers to succeed. President Lungu has also dismissed reports he is too ill to run the country. The political atmosphere has been volatile since last year's arrest of opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema, who was in custody for 4 months after his convoy failed to make way for President Lungu's motorcade last year. Treason charges against Mr. Hichilema were subsequently dropped. Moving on, with a resurgence of ethnic strife in the region, there are fears of history repeating itself in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where ethnic violence has forced thousands to flee to Uganda. After 15 years of relative peace, there has been a surge in violence between ethnic groups Lendu and Hema, driven in part by a breakdown of government authority. Clashes since February have left at least 70 people dead and forced more than 60,000 to flee. The United Nations Refugee Agency says it expects around 200,000 refugees to reach the neighboring country from Ituri this year. Congo's civil war began in 1998, fueling a 5-year conflict in which about 5 million people were killed, mostly from hunger and disease.
We have heard from these people that these are inter-ethnic clashes. I mean, this is an inter-ethnic conflict. The Hema, the Lendu, and the Bagerere, they're fighting each other. Apparently, I think it's Lendu that is fighting the other tribes, according to the stories that they tell us. And we also heard that the houses are being burned out. Some villages are looted completely. And the people who are arriving here are not only the people who have experienced, the violence. Some others, just because they got the information or they heard about an imminent attack of their village, so they decided to flee. They decided to leave, the country and to come back here.
At least 15 people have been killed and many injured after a car bomb detonated in a busy street of Mogadishu yesterday. The Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab militants have claimed responsibility. The group carries out frequent bombings and other attacks in Mogadishu in a campaign to topple Somalia's Western-backed federal government. The attack, the latest in a series of bomb blasts that have hit the capital in recent times, may be an indication that an ongoing leadership wrangle within the government is undermining the security situation in the city. And the United Nations has closed its peacekeeping mission to Liberia 15 years after it was deployed in the aftermath of 2 civil wars that ended with the fall of former President Charles Taylor. The mission had already withdrawn most of its 15,000 troops in 2016, signaling that the West African nation can meet its own security needs. George Weah was sworn in as president in January, a testimony to how far Liberia has come since its civil wars left almost 250,000 people dead. He replaced outgoing Africa's first woman president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, after a hotly contested but nonetheless peaceful election a month earlier. Founded by freed American slaves, Liberia is Africa's oldest modern republic. Though now peaceful, youths complain that little so far has been done to tackle widespread graft or lift Liberians out of dire poverty.